Let's have a robust debate on immigration. But don't hold the issue hostage. State where you are. Let's work it out. We have offered a plan. So, you know, I think that it's very unfortunate, but it actually is more than just unfortunate. It will have real consequence for these folks to play these kinds of games with who we are as America in terms of our role of global leadership. It will have consequence.
To incarcerate people for no cause whatsoever other than a particular law enforcement official's suspicion. That's what we're going to do to our Latino brothers and sisters. It's racist.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Stephen A. Simp, okay? And the reason why I got to talk about Stephen A. Simp is because, unfortunately, he's a guy that believes that he can talk about literally anything, right? Because he's an entertainer first and an intellectual second, right? And he's only really intellectual when it comes to sports. And even with sports, I mean, I would say that his knowledge is, I don't know, mediocre at best. He's just more of an entertainer more than an actual analytical person. But anyways, he believes that he can talk about anything, right? And he's wading into politics, right? He's now talking about politics and showing us how liberal he is on some issues, right? How much this guy, despite trying to pretend that he's some enlightened centrist, he's actually a liberal, right? And I'm saying this after I was convinced that Stephen A. Smith was actually an enlightened centrist, right? But he's showing us time and time again that because he sees the world through the lenses of race, he cannot analyze any policy without using race. And here we are today talking about illegal immigration, right? Because Stephen A. Smith is upset with Texas's new law that makes it a state crime to cross into the country illegally through Texas. And it gives officers the power to arrest the illegal immigrants that they know have crossed into the country illegally, aka the ones that they have witnessed cross into the country illegally. And that's important to take note here as we react to Stephen A. Smith or Stephen A. Simp having a full-blown meltdown, crime, racism over the state doing the job that the federal government should be doing.
A new Texas law could mean jail time for migrants crossing into the U.S. illegally.
Fox's Caroline Elliott joins us live from Eagle Pass, Texas tonight with more details on the new immigration law. Caroline.
Well, John, Christina, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed this immigration law at the same time we're seeing a new daily record at the southern border. CBP sources tell us that more than 12,000 migrants crossed into the U.S.-Mexico border illegally in just one day. And you can see some of these migrants still waiting to be processed behind us here in Eagle Pass. Now, the new law is called SB 4, and it allows Texas law enforcement to stop, arrest, and jail undocumented migrants. Undocumented migrants could face up to 180 days in jail and a fine of $2,000, and repeat offenders could get up to 20 years in prison. Governor Greg Abbott says the law is necessary to slow the number of migrants crossing into Texas.
Biden's deliberate inaction has left Texas to fend for itself. The authors of the United States Constitution foresaw a situation when the federal government would be inattentive to states that faced challenges at their borders. And in response, they inserted Article 1, Section 10 to the United States Constitution to empower states to take action.
Now, the new law goes into effect in March, but we're already seeing a lot of pushback and a number of lawsuits. John, Christina.
So you see, now you heard that. It is a damn shame that we live in a country where a state governor has to take these actions that should be taken by the federal government, to be quite honest with you, to try to stop a problem because the federal government refuses to do their job. I mean, I don't understand what these people want from Greg Abbott, right? They don't want him sending the illegals to New York and Chicago, the sanctuary cities, the places that say they want the illegals. But at the same time, they don't want Greg Abbott to actually, I don't know, enforce our nation's laws, our federal laws at the border. They don't want them to do that. They don't want them to arrest illegal immigrants. They simply just want the illegals to stay in red states like Texas, and Texas has to deal with the problem by themselves, right? And then if you question it, then they say that you're racist, hateful, and you're bigoted for questioning why is it fair for Texas to have to deal with a problem that they're only experiencing because the Democrats refuse to do their job and because they're a border state, right? But when Texas actually sends over the issue to cities that claim that they want the illegal immigrants, oh, he's a bigot and he's racist for that, right? It's a big problem. It's a big issue. Again, it's just funny how that works. So anyways, that brings us to Stephen A. Simp, who is going to go on a silly little rant here, basically boo-hooing and crying racism over this new Texas law because, again, he has no argument outside of that. Par for the course when it comes to liberals, Democrats, and progressives.
Greg Abbott, you ever heard of him? He's the governor for the state of Texas. On Monday, that governor, Governor Abbott, signed a bill into law that will allow the police to arrest migrants who enter the U.S. illegally. This law, which takes effect in March, allows any Texas law enforcement officer to arrest people who are suspected of entering the country illegally. This is bad, ladies and gentlemen. And before I go a step further, there's an individual by the name of Krish, Krish, Omara Vignarajah, Vignarajah. That person is the CEO of Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, says, quote, by criminalizing the very act of seeking refuge, Texas is turning its back on the values of compassion and due process that make our nation the world's beacon of humanitarian leadership. That is one way to put it. There are various other ways.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, here's the problem what Stephen A. Smith is doing, right? Now, again, I'm not sure if he's doing this on purpose or if he's doing this because he's ignorant. Now, he's a journalist, so I would assume that he's not this ignorant. But there's a difference between suspicion or reasonable suspicion and probable cause. Nowhere in that bill does it grant arresting officers the ability to arrest people or illegal immigrants based off suspicion or even reasonable suspicion, which is basically just a common sense conclusion that a practical person would reach about the likelihood of somebody committing a crime. For example, an officer may suspect that somebody crossed into the country illegally because they are near the border and the officer's never seen that person before, right? They don't look like they should be a person that is just, you know, hanging out around the border, okay, for whatever reason. Okay, they look suspicious. That's not enough for an officer to arrest an individual, okay? An officer has to have probable cause in order to arrest somebody. And that is what this law is intended for, okay? It is intended to give arresting officers the power to arrest illegal immigrants who they know for a fact have crossed the border, right, illegally. Okay, so it's not a show me your papers law where you go up to any Latino looking person at Home Depot and you're like, show me your papers, right? Are you here illegally or illegally? Okay, I'm gonna arrest you right now. Okay, no, that's not how it works. They have to actually witness a crime being committed. Again, this is don't say gay all over again, right? The mainstream liberal media will try to say that the bill does something that it doesn't do to try to make it seem like the bill is setting some new precedent, which, I mean, I guess that it is, okay, in the sense that, yeah, I mean, you do have a state government basically doing the federal government's job, but that's because the federal government is an absolute failure. They don't have another choice, right? They don't have another choice. It's unfortunate. But the bill does not give officers the power to arrest illegal immigrants based off suspicion, okay? That's not what it does. They still have to have probable cause. Stephen A. Smith saying that he's quite literally spreading what, you know, liberals like to call misinformation about the bill. Again, this is don't say gay all over again. This is what Democrats do. They take a law and then they try to say that it does something that it doesn't do. And then when you actually read the law, you realize that, oh, it doesn't actually do that. That's not what it does at all, right? This is what the law is actually intended for. It's intended for illegals who actually get caught crossing the border, right? Not Hispanics hanging out at your local barber shop, right? At the local taco truck. That's not what it's intended for.
Think about that for a second. People can be arrested who are suspected of entering the country illegally. Do you realize that that means a law enforcement official can walk up to somebody, all right, they look Hispanic. Okay, their English is broken. They don't speak fluent English. So that could be a cause for me to arrest them?
Now, I'm pretty sure that that's not going to be the cause, right? It's not going to be that simple, right? But again, this is how simpletons think, because they have no ability to think or to make arguments or to use logic and reasoning without race, right? Everything in Stephen A's world has to do with race. Race is about everything. This is why he has to tell you every time he talks, well, I'm a black man, right? As if being a black man gives him some type of authority. Okay, well, I'm a black man. So therefore, this is why I can speak on politics, because he knows that he doesn't have any real authority, okay, to be discussing this subject matter. And this is why he tries to play the race card. But then again, Stephen A., simple mindset here, thinks that if you are a Hispanic in Texas, which there are a ton of them, right? There are a ton of Hispanics in Texas, Latinos in Texas that speak broken English or English isn't that well, that are here legally. He really thinks that police are going to be just randomly arresting Hispanics and Latinos, profiling them for being here illegally. This is what he believes. He believes that that's how it's going to be enforced, when clearly that's not the case. Clearly, before they go arresting somebody for being here illegally, they're going to actually know that they're here illegally. Okay, like, for example, they're going to see them cross the border. Okay, like all those people crossing the border. Yeah, those are the people that will be arrested. Okay, those are the people that Greg Abbott is talking about. Okay, he's not talking about random people, you know, that go to work every single day, get arrested by the police because, hey, you're Hispanic, you're Latino. No, it's people that are here illegally, obviously, right? That police have actual probable cause to arrest. Okay.
Let them deal with the problems later. Ladies and gentlemen, to get out of jail, bail costs money. It ain't free.
Not in liberal cities, right? Not in liberal cities. In some of these liberal cities, it's free. And it most certainly is costing those cities. Those cities have become a disaster because of it.
To hire a lawyer, that costs money. It ain't free. You have essentially opened up an avenue to incarcerate people for no cause whatsoever other than a particular law enforcement official's suspicion. That's what we're going to do to our Latino brothers and sisters. It's racist. Somebody needs to say it, so I'm going to say it. It's a racist ass thing to do.
Wow.
Suspicion? Suspected of entering the country illegally. How can you be suspected of entering the country illegally?
If you enter the country illegally, if you see one of the hombres crossing the border, okay, literally crossing the border illegally, which I'm pretty sure they see hundreds of them a day, yeah, those are probably the people that will be targeted, okay? But again, in this guy's mind, and this right here is a great screenshot. I'm going to screenshot this, right? Let me not forget. Let me screenshot this right now. But here's the thing. Stephen A. Smith is either lying, again, or he just didn't read the bill, right? Because, again, nowhere in the bill does it give police the power to arrest based off just a suspicion. They actually have to witness the illegal immigrant crossing the border, either in person with their own two eyes or via video. Again, they're not going to arrest Hispanics hanging out, drinking Coronas outside of Home Depot. That's not what they're doing, right?
So you chilling in downtown Dallas or Houston. You hanging out with a bunch of folks. You're speaking Spanish instead of English. Your clothes might not be a Tom Ford suit or something. You might not be wearing a Jordan sweatsuit.
Again, this is how the woke mind thinks. He cannot comprehend why Greg Abbott is doing this outside of race. Can't do it. He can't do it. The woke mind has told him this is something that is going to affect normal, everyday Latino. It's millions of them in Texas, right? Millions. It's going to affect them, right? The people that are here legally, they're just going to be getting, arrested by police randomly. When it's simply not the case. It is clearly a policy to be enforced at the border, right? That's clearly what the policy is for. But again, Stephen A. Smith, he can't pick up on this, right? He can't do this.
You might look a little poor and impoverished, a bit haggardy or haphazard. Those things you might not look the part. That's a suspicion. They can literally label that as suspicion to justify arresting you, not questioning you, not asking for an ID. They literally can arrest you.
Now, look, I find it fascinating how this guy's crying racism, but yet to me, he the one that sounds like a racist because he's just assuming that if you are Latino, then that must mean that you could possibly be here illegally. When if he's actually been paying attention to the illegal immigration crisis in the news, he can see that we're not just talking about people coming from Venezuela or South America or Latinos. No, we're actually talking about people coming from around the globe, right? From the Middle East, from China, from Africa. There are people from all over the place showing up at the border. So to assume that this is just something that applies to Latino or Hispanic looking people, again, to me, you're the one that sound like the racist. You're the one that assuming that, well, all illegal immigrants must be Hispanic or Latino. Or if you're Hispanic or Latino, then you could possibly be here illegally. You're the one making that assumption. Nobody else is making that assumption except you.
That's criminal.
No, what's criminal is you trying to do political commentary when this is above your pay grade, man. Like, I'm not sure if this is your element, Stephen A. Okay? Because, again, instead of actually talking about the reason why Greg Abbott feels the need to do something like this, to take these type of measures, a.k.a. the border crisis, a.k.a. Biden's policies, a.k.a. the fact that we're literally being invaded, okay, on a daily basis. Nah, we're going to boo-hoo whine and complain about the Texas governor trying to do the job that the president refuses to do, right? To protect his state that's on the border. But again, with Greg Abbott, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? It's, oh, you need to take care of the illegal immigrants and don't say anything. Shut your mouth, right? They must stay in Texas. You must let them into Texas, and you have to keep them into Texas. And if you do anything other than that, you're a bigot. You're racist. Again, it's amazing how that works. It's damn you do, damn you don't. This is why I said Greg Abbott, right? And I'm pretty sure he's not the perfect governor, right? I'm not a Texan, so my knowledge is limited on this. But in regards to the meltdowns that he's caused the mainstream liberal media, especially these Democrat mayors, okay, these Democrat politicians, he belongs in the Republican Hall of Fame. I don't blame him for this. I don't. It's controversial, but sometimes controversial things have to be done. Democrats don't give a damn. They're trying to arrest Greg Abbott for sending the illegals to the sanctuary cities. So again, if you're gonna arrest me for sending them to the sanctuary cities, hey, you shouldn't have no problems with me arresting them at the border. That way, I don't have to send them to the sanctuary cities. We can arrest them and then deport them and send them back. But I think what he should do, I think he should arrest them and then send them to the liberal cities. Right? That's what he actually really should do. Okay. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.